Why Christmas was actually a horror festival. Europe has Krampus, Lwyd, horse skull parades, and the Yule Cat, which eats children who don't wear new clothes. But Christmas was once bloody and murderous in the rest of the world too. Why do you think it was forbidden to celebrate Christmas in parts of America for over 2 decades? If you complain that the roast goose is a little dry, think of Greenland. There, Christmas dinner is a game with death, in which entire families are wiped out. Everything you have been told about Christmas so far will soon appear in a different light, dark and bloody. Is Christmas really a Christian festival? Or is it something much older? And what happens to a festival when it encounters other religions, other climates, other cultures, and wants to cover up the bad things? We don't show you how beautifully Christmas is celebrated. Instead, we show you which dark memories are not preserved. And you realize what the traditional rituals really mean. Wonderland takes you back in time and brings you back to the here and now. Is there even such a thing as Christmas as we think we know it? What began in Europe as a response to winter, darkness, existential uncertainty, and death embarked on a long journey with people, with missionaries who spread the faith, with traders who took songs, symbols, and rituals with them, with colonial powers who reshaped religious structures, and with immigrants who took their memories, their customs, and their need for meaning with them. Outside Europe, Christmas encountered other seasons, other climates, other myths, and other religious systems. It encountered Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, and numerous indigenous beliefs. The idea of light in dark times was not an exclusively Christian idea. Christmas was deliberately set by the Church on the 25th of December, even though Jesus was not born on that day. Pagan festivals and rituals involving blood sacrifices were to be overlaid and reinterpreted. Ancient festivals of light were replaced by Jesus as the light of the world. And what about the Rauhnächte, the 12 days, a time that does not exist and is therefore permeable to the supernatural and the dark? A glitch in the matrix? You'll be amazed. But first, let's go to Mexico. When we hit the piñatas in Mexico today, we forget their origins. The Spanish used Christmas to cover up a bloodbath. Where people are healthy today, rivers of blood flowed hundreds of years ago. To keep the winter solstice alive, slaves were impaled and their hearts sacrificed to the sun. Christmas here was not a birth, but a conquest. But this seems to have been covered up for a long time. Time was not linear progress, but like light, a return. Festivals, especially festivals of light, serve to stabilize the cosmic order, renew community, make transitions visible. When the Spanish missionaries arrived in the 16th century, they encountered cultures that understood rituals not as decoration, but as a necessity. This encounter gave rise to one of Mexico's central rituals, Los Posadas. 9 days before Christmas, people go from house to house. They reenact Mary and Joseph's search for shelter. But this procession is more than a biblical retelling. It picks up on an ancient pattern: walking together, asking together, welcoming together. First, they are turned away, then welcomed in. This is no coincidence. It reminds us that community is not a given, but a decision. The posadas are loud. There is singing, laughter, sharing. In a country where social inequality is deeply rooted in history, this is not a romantic image. It is a social exercise. Those who share belong. Those who exclude remain alone. The piñata is not child's play, but today the memory is overshadowed. Its original form, the 7-pointed star, represents the 7 deadly sins. Smashing it symbolizes overcoming evil through collective action, not through individual strength. The sweets fall not for the individual, but for everyone. Mexican Christmas has survived because it is not dogmatic and has detached itself from the dark side. It adapts, today as in the past. But Mexico is only the beginning. Further south, the light becomes louder. Candles light up entire streets in Colombia. Paper transforms darkness into color. But why are the celebrations in Latin America and the Philippines so loud and garish? Perhaps not only out of joy. In ancient traditions, noise and light are the only weapons against the spirits of darkness. On the longest nights of the year, they are particularly close, perhaps even today. We don't just set off fireworks for fun. We have always been at war with the shadows. The Rauhnächte, an opening in the cosmos and an intrusion of what? Colombia understands light as a collective promise, especially at Christmas time, not as a symbol, not as a decoration, but as a public commitment against darkness. Since Colombia is close to the equator and the days are relatively equal in length, one wonders, why darkness? There is no extreme darkness as in the north. Darkness was experienced socially. Colombia looks back on colonial, bloody violence and oppression, social inequality, internal conflicts, decades of insecurity. Light became the antithesis. Central to the Colombian Christmas are the Novenos de Aguinaldos. 9 days before Christmas, families, neighborhoods, and entire streets come together. They pray, sing, and eat. But more important than the religious text is the coming together. The novena is less liturgy than social practice. The most important moment begins on the 7th of December, Dia de las Velitas, the day of the little candles. Alone, it is small and its light is dim, but many are bright and cannot be overlooked. Communities are just as strong and can bring down entire governments. Overnight, people place candles in front of their houses, protected by colorful paper sleeves, small lanterns, hand-folded shapes. Streets become seas of light. It symbolizes harmony, strength, and a union of the light and dark sides. The lights are colorful. They deliberately contradict the darkness and say, we are showing ourselves. We are not hiding. Even before Christianization, fire played a protective role in indigenous cultures. Fire marked community, territory, safety. Today, the lights of Colombia are known worldwide. They are a reminder that hope must be made visible. But Colombia is not yet the loudest light. Further north, Christmas becomes a movement. In Venezuela, people ride on wheels through closed streets early in the morning. Venezuela looks back on a history of stark social contrasts. Large family associations, close-knit neighborhoods, and religious rituals were long the most important form of social security. Christmas was never intended to be a private family celebration here. It was always public. A central element of the Venezuelan Christmas celebration is the Misas de Aguinaldo. From the 16th to the 24th of December, early morning Christmas masses are held, not in the evening, not at night, but at daybreak. This is no coincidence. The morning symbolizes a new beginning, hope, light after night. In Caracas and other cities, streets are closed during this time. Why? So that people can roller skate to Mass. This is not a modern trend. It is a living tradition. Coming together, reflecting, remembering, feeling gratitude and starting the day. When else should we be so close to each other as at Christmas time? As a defense against the Rauhnächte, the hole in the matrix, and as a defense against dark memories of the past. In the city of Sonora, Venezuela, on the 28th of December, you will see hundreds of people in colorful costumes and scary masks dancing through the streets. It looks like a cheerful Christmas carnival, but the occasion is pure horror. The Festival of the Zaragozas commemorates the massacre of the innocent children. Legend has it that the masks represent the madness of the mothers who had to watch King Herod's soldiers slaughter their babies. What looks like a street festival today is actually a macabre dance on the graves of thousands of murdered infants. Bright colors to cover up the deep black of history. This also explains why houses in parts of Venezuela are bande before Christmas. It is meant to be a visible sign of renewal. Christmas in Venezuela has survived, like the people, because it creates movement and leaves the old behind. We leave Latin America and look at the longest Christmas celebration in the world in the Philippines. From September to January, That sounds like pure joy. But historically, this endless celebration was a golden prison. The Spanish colonial rulers used the festival as a weapon, not in the conventional sense. No, much more inconspicuously. The famous Simbang Gabi dawn masses did not originate out of consideration for the farmers so that they could also attend mass. No, they served to rob the indigenous population of their sleep so that they had prayed before they had to toil the fields until they dropped. And why, you ask, for over 4 months? Quite simply, anyone who spends months making lanterns, planning processions, roasting pigs and celebrating, singing and spending their last money on candles and church donations, has no money and no energy left to plan a rebellion. The longest Christmas in the world was perhaps the most successful diversionary tactic in history. A singing people does not rebel. The Philippines is still the only country in Asia with a predominantly Christian population. Shaped by over 300 years of Spanish colonial rule, faith, rituals, and understanding of time have remained. The Zimbabwe Gabi, 9 masses before Christmas, still take place early in the morning before sunrise. Why? Because the new day should always begin with hope, as it has done for centuries. The parol, a star-shaped lantern, usually made of bamboo and paper, is the most visible symbol of the Philippine Christmas celebration. It stands for the Star of Bethlehem, guidance, orientation. But it also draws on older indigenous light traditions. Christmas in the Philippines is celebrated loudly, cheerfully, and with music. It continues and has survived because it still provides emotional relief for people today. In a country with economic challenges, high labor migration, long periods of separation from families, a long celebration offers connection, continuity, comfort. We leave Asia to go to Uzbekistan, a place where Christmas was suppressed for a long time. Not because of the climate, not because of religion, but because of politics. Uzbekistan is located on one of the oldest cultural routes in the world. People tend to celebrate New Year with Father Frost. But who is he really? Today it sounds friendly, but the bitter background is that in the past, people were not happy about his visit. More than 2,000 years ago, traders, scholars, and religions traveled along the Silk Road. Zoroastrianism, Buddhism, Christianity, and later Islam coexisted at times. Time was never uniform here in Uzbekistan. Festivals were culturally influenced, not dogmatically defined. Today, Uzbekistan is predominantly Muslim. The Christian population is small, and most Christians are Orthodox. They do not celebrate Christmas on the 25th of December, but on the 7th of January, according to the Julian calendar. The Soviet era has had a decisive influence on today's celebrations. Over 70 years of state-imposed atheism suppressed religious festivals from public life. Christmas was not banned, but it was made invisible. Instead, New Year's Eve took on central importance. The 31st of December and the 1st of January became the most important holiday. However, cities are already magnificently decorated during the Christmas season. Lights, trees, music. But it is not a Christian Christmas. It is a secular winter festival. St. Nicholas was replaced by Kor Bobo, Father Frost, who brings the presents. But his true identity is a horror film. Originally, in Slavic mythology, he was a death demon, Morak or Karachun. He let people freeze to death in the forest. They turned into ice statues. In the past, people did not look forward to his visit. They sacrificed food to him and placed porridge outside their door. This was in the hope that he would move on and not turn the house into an ice tomb or take the children away. This was before the Soviets turned him into a nice old man accompanied by his granddaughter, Snegorochka, the snow maiden. Today, they bring gifts for the children. Uzbekistan shows that festivals do not disappear when they are interrupted or reinterpreted. They change their form. From a quiet Christmas, they go to where it is visible, staged, and more public than ever. Canada is not a culturally grown Christmas country in the European sense. It is a country of migration. French, British, Irish, German, and later global influences came together here. Christmas was not adopted. It was assembled. The Canadian winter is harsh. Cold, darkness, and isolation shaped the lives of the early settlers. Community was not a romantic idea. It was a necessity, essential for survival, as we shall see. When we think of Canada, we think of friendly people, maple syrup, and a wonderful Christmas. Happy people, community, beautifully decorated streets. Boring because you can find that everywhere. Then you will be shocked by the following bloody stories. In the province of Newfoundland, in the far north, Christmas does not end with peace, but with a hunt. On the 6th of January, the Inuit celebrate Nalujik Night, the horror from the ice on Old Christmas Day. They are figures in tattered animal skins with skeletal grimaces. They don't come to bring gifts. They come to hunt you. Unlike the Krampus from the European mountains, who often only threatens, the Nalujik carry sticks and harpoons to use them. They chase children and adults through snow-covered streets. Those who are too slow are beaten. The only salvation? You have to sing them a song, perfectly and without fear in your voice, while a monster stands in front of you. That is the price for a happy new year in the eternal ice. To this day, it is customary for all eyes to turn to the frozen sea at sunset. For there, from the eternal darkness of the ice, comes the Nalujik, dressed as they have been since time immemorial. They bang sticks against the walls of the houses and demand to be let in. Inside, the children must sing songs to prove that they have been good. If they do well, they receive gifts. If not, there is the stick, or the fear of being taken out onto the ice. The thing about the disguise is that you never know who is under the mask and the costume. That's why there was a ban on mummering for over 100 years, the Mummering Law of 1861. Enemies used the masks to murder or beat their rivals half to death, as in the notorious murder of Isaac Mercer. Imagine strangers breaking into your house. Their faces are covered. Their voices are disguised. Their bodies are unrecognizably covered and thickly padded. You have to guess who they are. If you guess wrong, you face violence. Mummering in Canada was so dangerous and led to so many murders under the guise of Christmas that it was banned by law. Santa Claus comes down the chimney. Mummers come through the front door. But you never know if Santa Claus is a mummer, if they are friends or murderers. Leaving this dark history behind, a form of Christmas developed in Canada that has a strong outward impact and covers up the history. Fairy lights, public trees, and community events are now the focus. Christmas is shared, made visible to the community. Warmth in the cold, light in the darkness. A particularly memorable ritual is the Cavalcade of Lights in Toronto. Since the 1960s, the Christmas season has been officially opened here with a large light parade. In Canada, gifts are traditionally distributed on the 25th of December. Christmas is a unifying celebration across religious boundaries and cultures. Where European traditions meet media and consumerism, Christmas becomes oversized in the USA. Old myths on a new scale. Here, it's not just about celebrating. Here, it's about staging. When we think of America today, we see the land of unlimited opportunities. Colorful advertisements, Coca-Cola trucks with Santa Claus and overloaded Christmas decorations are the image we have in mind. But first, let's look at the origins of the USA. It is a country of immigration. English Puritans, German Lutherans, Dutch settlers. Irish Catholics brought their Christmas traditions with them. They encountered indigenous peoples, which led to major conflicts. The history of Christmas in the United States does not begin with lights, presents, and Santa Claus. It begins with a ban. For Puritan theologians, the celebration of Christmas was therefore a human invention, and worse still, an adoption of pagan customs. In particular, the Roman Saturnalia and the winter solstice festivals. For them, Christmas was not a religious festival, but a chaos of noise, debauchery, alcohol, violence, and moral decay. Imagine this atmosphere at Christmas. Before the violence took to the streets, there was an eerie silence. No bells could be heard in the narrow, cold streets of Boston. There was no smell of roast meat. No candles could be seen in the windows. The shops were open, the machines in the factories were running, and the children were being taught in school. The Puritans, the founding fathers of America, hated Christmas. For them, the 25th of December was not a holy day. They called it Fool's Tide, the time of fools. They knew that the date had nothing to do with the Bible, but was formerly a pagan festival that had been overlaid by the Romans to give it a Christian veneer. The law, penalty for keeping Christmas, was merciless. Anyone who skipped work, held a feast, or was even caught wishing a neighbor a Merry Christmas had to pay a fine of 5 shillings, which was a fortune at the time. For over 20 years, Christmas was illegal and banned in New England. It was not a time of joy. The war on Christmas is not an invention of the modern media. It is a historical foundation of the United States. This led to a culturally divided picture emerging early on. Strict rejection in the North, cautious acceptance in the South. Christmas was not a national holiday, but a regional exception. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the religious landscapes of the USA changed fundamentally. Several factors played a role in this: increasing urbanization, industrialization, social tensions, growing child labor, migration from Europe with people coming from Catholic countries, Lutheran regions, and Orthodox cultures. At the same time, strict Puritanism lost influence. During this period, a new need arose for family closeness, moral order, social balance. Thus, in 1870, the United States declared the 25th of December an official holiday. It was internationally recognized, established by the church, culturally compatible. Santa Claus, a European myth, becomes American and transforms itself in the 19th century into a new figure. He is a product that combines the Dutch Sinterklaas, the German Nikolaus, British winter figures, and American storytelling. Poems such as A Visit from St. Nicholas, 1823, and later illustrations give Santa his appearance, his reindeer sleigh, his role as a friend to children and bringer of gifts. But what remained unknown was that his flying sleigh originally came from Odin's Wild Hunt. Anyone who looked outside during the 12 days and saw Odin's ghostly army went mad or had to ride with them forever. It was not a silent night. It was a night of mortal fear in which people barricaded themselves in. Now you will surely see Santa with different eyes. Christmas is more visible than ever in the USA and has advanced from a forbidden festival to the biggest Christmas spectacle in the world. Competitions for the brightest house, the biggest decorations, the most spectacular staging, gigantic Christmas trees in public places. There are old patterns underlying consumerism. Light against darkness, community versus cold, rituals versus uncertainty. Old European customs also live on. The kiss under the mistletoe, singing together, rituals of coming together, eating together, and giving gifts. But they become part of a narrative around the 25th of December that is bigger than the ritual itself. Everything culminates. Gifts, family, expectation. American Christmas exists because it is a projection screen. It offers order in a fragmented society and provides stability. Beneath all the glitz lies a historical core: the fear of losing control, the search for order, the need for community and protection. Our journey continues from the USA and ends in the coldest country in the world. Greenland is an autonomous territory of Denmark and thus represents the bridge between Europe and the rest of the world, at least in our Christmas excursion. Always think of Christmas dinner in Greenland when you think your meal has not turned out well. In Greenland, Christmas dinner is a game with death. The dish is called Kiviaq. Easy to prepare? No, you've never spent so much time on a meal before. Take 500 dead birds and stuff them into the hollowed-out carcass of a seal. Then, bury the whole thing for months until the birds inside have liquefied into a fermented mass. At Christmas, the seal is opened. The smell is unbearable for outsiders. The birds are eaten raw, often by biting off the head and sucking out the innards. But be careful. One small mistake in preparation, and the feast is deadly. An entire family died during Christmas dinner in 2013. That is the ultimate price for tradition. The question remains, what is Christmas? We have now seen how the world celebrates the festival of love with monsters, whips, and dark rituals. But perhaps the origin of all these horrors lies not in the cultures themselves, but in time. Do you know that strange, floating feeling between Christmas and New Year, when you no longer know exactly what day of the week it is? Our ancestors knew why. A lunar year has only 354 days. A solar year has 365. The difference is exactly 11 days and 12 nights. These days were not mathematically provided for in the old calendar. They didn't actually exist. They are the Rauhnächte, the dead days. For the people of that time, these 12 nights were a tear in the fabric of reality, a flaw in the matrix of creation. During this period, the laws of nature stood still. And because time stood still, the gates to the other world were wide open. That is why Odin was able to lead his wild hunt, why Frau Perkta slashed open bellies, and why Krampus roamed and spirits wandered. Europe has a bridge to the rest of the world, like customs and rituals. The spirits and the dark forces use this gap between the years, this no man's land of time to slip into our world. If you hear the wind howling outside tonight, remember, it's not just the wind. It is a gap in the calendar through which something still peeks through. Wonderworld wishes you a good night. Be mindful of what comes through the cracks and stay here. Join us on our next unforgettable journey.